Welcome back to Play Tessie. It is March 8th if you're listening on drop day, and it is episode 49, the Tim Wakefield episode. May Tim and Stacey Wakefield rest in peace. Red Sox legend. But this is the official podcast of writing a number on a piece of paper and slowly pushing it across the table in a dramatic fashion. Also known as the official Red Sox podcast at WEI. Before we get going, just remember to hit that subscribe button wherever you're listening. If you're on Apple, Spotify, Odyssey app, hit that subscribe button and leave us 5 stars wherever you're listening. And if you're on YouTube, hit that thumbs up and subscribe to the WEI channel. Leave us a comment wherever you're listening or watching. We love hearing from you guys, and make sure you hit us up on the socials too, at PlayTessie on both Twitter and Instagram. Joined here by Pat and Sammy with Coop in the back. And the news of the day. The breaking news of the day. Breaking news. The Boston Red Sox have agreed to a contract extension with young stud starting pitcher Brayan Bello. It is a 6-year, $55 million deal that includes a $21 million team option. The potential to get that value up to $76 million. The gist here, that contract buys out all of Brayan Bello's arbitration years. He was already going to be here for 5 years. It buys out all of those years, buys him out for an additional free agent year, and then gives the team the option to have him for a second free agent year at $21 million if they want it. So that's his age 30 and 31 seasons. He can hit free agency again, entering his age 32 season. If he pitches well, he's going to get a second payday. So really a win-win contract for both parties here. Sammy, Pat, we've heard this was kind of coming for about a day before it happened. Alex Spear kind of came out. So we kind of knew it was coming, but it still hits like something. It's not like a ton of bricks because that's a bad thing, but it hits like something good.
Crack.
What does it hit like? It hits like crack. That how it hit you, Pat? Did it hit you like crack?
Just like crack, baby.
It hit me like daily medication that I should be taking and the Red Sox should be taking. And if you take daily medication, it's that way because it's exactly what they should have done.
I eat multivitamins. I imagine it hit harder than those hit.
No, that's actually good. Good comp. It's like a multivitamin. It's right in front of them. Why not take it? And they took their multivitamin. So congrats, Red Sox.
That's fair. I take 2 multivitamin gummies a day, and I feel like they've taken one of the 2. And we'll get into this, but extending costs is eating the second multivitamin. Eat both the multivitamins, but we'll get into that. I thought this was a big deal, even though, like, obviously it only adds a year, potentially 2 years onto Brayan Bello's deal with the Red Sox. Like, in terms of how long are you going to be watching this guy for? It only adds possibly 2 years to that. But this is a big deal for other reasons. It keeps that value down, that average annual value down at $10 million, so that when his ARB years start hitting, and if you do want to sign him in free agency, like, those would be in the mid to upper teens, potentially in the 20s, millions of dollars every year. But now his annual tax hit as it pertains to that CBT line is just under $10 million. So it allows the team to do a lot of maneuvering, it just gives them more flexibility later on in the deal. Not to mention the fact that hitting free agency, entering your age 32 season is a hell of a lot different than entering free agency, entering your age 30 season. Those guys get paid like crazy. Entering age 32, you've got that kind of old man stink. Teams don't want to give you that long-term deal. So it does limit the potential earnings that he could get over the course of his career in that way, and it helps the Red Sox in that way if they want to make him a Sox for life later on. But obviously he's getting tons of financial security just a year and a half after making his debut, which it's pretty crazy if you think about it.
Yeah. I mean, people will say he deserves much more, but in reality, he's guaranteeing himself, generational wealth. What was it, 55 million or 50 in the 50s?
55.
Yeah.
55 guaranteed.
Yeah. 55 guaranteed with a chance to be a lot more. I'm actually looking at it as a 2-year deal rather than, like Gordo, like you said, a 1-year deal, because in my head, it's a team option. So, I mean, they're going to pick it up.
Yeah.
And if they don't pick it up, it means Bayo's not good. So who cares?
Or hurt.
Yeah. Or hurt or something. Something bad has happened if they don't pick it up. Because I believe it's only 21 million for the option.
Yeah.
So,
and you know how good 21 million is going to look in 2030.
Yeah.
Frankie fucking Montas We're over
Dude,
the 5
that's
minute
already
mark.
low. That's already low, like in 2024. 21 million for a good, like a very good starting pitcher. That's already low. So in 2029,
2030.
2030, that'll be dirt cheap. That'll be like setup man money.
Frankie fucking Montas didn't pitch for a year and got 60 million. You know how good 21 million for Brayan Bello is going to look in 7 years?
It's true.
Yeah.
In the prime of his career. Like,
exactly.
My thing with this is I don't, when we talked about this off air, I don't want to give the Red Sox too much credit because this is like
Minimum.
you should have done this. This was a no-brainer. I'm glad they did it, but like we said, this turns their offseason from a complete failure to just a regular failure. So
it's true.
I'm happy about it. I don't want to be all negative. I'm happy that Bayo's locked in for the foreseeable future, but this is what you should have done. Good job doing it. Keep it going.
And I want to take a little bit of a futuristic look in this one. Like, we can look at where the rotation's headed. We can look at, I mean, Craig Breslow talked about it. He wants, and Sam Kennedy talked about it multiple times this offseason about wanting to create a pattern of this. They don't want this to stop at Brayan Bello. They want to do it more. So we can look at other guys to extend. We can look at the future of the rotation. But I want to stick on Bello for a little bit and talk about where you guys see his career going, because he's got such an interesting career trajectory. So many of these top pitching prospects come up and they're ranked high in the system because they've got crazy velocity on their fastball and the stuff just pops. But it's like, oh, we don't know if he's going to develop that third pitch or that changeup. We don't know if he's going to be able to stay healthy or go deep in games or adjust to the league and all these things. Bello, it's weird because it's kind of like he took the opposite approach. He mastered the changeup, which to me feels usually like the last thing these guys master. That's like when they finally get good, it's like they've mastered that third pitch. They've got the fastball and the slider. Now, how do you master that changeup? We talk about it with Tanner Houck, like stuff like that. But with Bello, he kind of took the hardest step first. And I honestly think it's a good bet by the Red Sox, just believing in their program, believing they can increase velocity, believing they can continue to work with him, develop that slider. I'm sure they've already liked the progress it made. I mean, there's a reason this extension happens now as opposed to at the beginning of the offseason when Bello said they initially started discussions. So I'm curious, where do you guys think, like, Brayan Bello as a floor is a starting pitcher in the big leagues, but where do you see his ceiling going?
I mean, he could be an ace. Imagine if he takes a big step forward. That's not me saying I think he'll be an ace. I think he's more like a very good number 2 starting pitcher. But the issue with him right now, it's not so much his fastball. It's throwing the fastball up in the zone. So when he threw it low in the zone, as is the case with most guys, fine, good pitch, especially when the changeups work and he pitched off of that. It's when he elevated it that it got hit really hard. So one way to fix it is exactly what the Red Sox, are kind of alluded to wanting to do, is increasing velocity. So we'll see how that goes. I currently see him, I think he's a 3 or a 4 right now today, maybe a 5, but a back end starter. But, when he's 27, 28, that's when I think we'll see him become a number 2, maybe an ace level pitcher.
And he said that before too. He said that at the beginning of spring training. He sat on the bench and they said, what do you think you can be? Do you think you can be this? And he said, yeah, I can get there. It may not happen this year, but I believe that I have that in myself. Pat, where do you see him? Where do you see him going?
Yeah, I think the big, it's beating a dead horse at this point. And I think a lot of people, and maybe sometimes including myself, put too much stock in it. He is the guy who can get that Andrew Bailey bump. Like if he gets that bump, he's the Logan Webb type. Like he's going to eat innings. He's going to be high 2s, low 3s ERA. That's his ceiling, which is a very good ceiling to have. At his worst, just with basic trajectory of how his career is going right now, how the pitch mix has slowly gotten a little better. Absolute worst, you have yourself a very good, reliable 3. I'm with Sammy. I think he's, in the end of it all, somewhere right in the middle there. A very good 2, but he does have ace potential. And I truly think at worst, he's an average 3. And for the money they just got him for, it's an underpay even for that.
And the interesting thing about this is, you're right, Pat. The money that they paid for this guy at this age is you're happy with it, even if he's a 3 starter. But the fact that they made this investment this early and this much shows how they view him. It shows that they see him being that front of the rotation guy. They're not going to just invest in this guy $55 million and give themselves a $21 million team option if they don't see this guy being like a high end 2 or an ace. Personally, me, like, I think you should not build your team around him being your ace, but like you should build around him for the future being your 2. That's why you made this investment.
Yeah. You don't really need to, I don't think we need to make distinctions, that firmly. You just have to build around him being a mainstay in the rotation. If he's your ace, awesome. If he's the number 2, great. 3, not the worst. But one thing I also want to point out is we're talking about him adding velocity. I believe let me pull it up right here. The average MLB fastball was 95 miles an hour. Bello was in the 96 mile an hour range. So he's already got above average velocity. The one thing that I think people haven't spoken much about is his slider. It's really, really slow, and it's slower than his changeup actually on average. So if you could add a little bit of velocity to the slider, and I know that sounds weird to people, velocity to a slider, but like when it's that slow, it's easier to see coming. So those are the two things: add velocity to the fastball and the slider. The changeup, I'm like,
oh my god, yeah,
it's
beautiful. It's spectacular.
And then the cutter, he also threw a cutter. I think it was.
Yeah, we'll see about that one.
The last few games of the season, he mixed it in. I'm looking at his pitch mix right now. It was 1% of his pitching of his pitches thrown. I remember my guy Red Sox stats being like, did he just throw a cutter? And then love that. So we'll see. There's so many things to work with. Like we said, changeup's beautiful. Fastball's already above average. You can make it even better. Slider needs some work. And then maybe he adds a cutter. We saw what that did for Ryan Brazier, turned him into a beast. So
yeah. And he was maneuvering with that thing in season. Like that, like most of these guys, they develop new pitches in the offseason. Like he was learning that thing in the season. And we've heard so much this offseason about him reshaping his slider. As you said, Sammy, like one of the knocks on Bello is when he gets to 2 strikes, how does he put you away? Because this is a guy who's awesome at pitching to contact. And honestly, I think he should continue to just approach that as his strength. Like he's got a good sinker. He's got a changeup that's devastating. Like this is a guy who can get guys to hit it in the ground. And if the Red Sox can put together a better infield defense, that's only going to do him better. And I think the infield defense will be better this year, obviously with Trevor Story there, and hopefully Vaughn Grissom develops as a good second baseman. But you reshape that slider, you can, if that pitch can turn into even just like an average pitch, and obviously, Sammy, you bring up the point about the fast to throw that above the zone. That thing can be such a good pitch to set up his changeup, set up the slider. If he can get that pitch a little bit better, there's so much room for him to grow, and he's already as good as he is.
Yeah, and the cool thing with Bello too is that 96, that's on a sinker. Like that has very good movement, and it moves a lot like his changeup. So that's why even in AAA, before he really had a refined third pitch, he was getting away with a lot because it's either 96 moving like that or mid 80s moving like that. If he can, like Gordo, like you said, if he can really get that pitch shape down on the slider, and guys are guessing low and away changeup and it's low and in slider, he's sawing guys off or getting strikeouts. That third pitch development is so key for Brayan Bello because those 2 pitches are so above average that you might be able to get away with it. The third pitch is the difference between a very good 3 and an ace.
He's kind of got 5. He's got his regular fastball. He's got a sinking fastball. He's got a changeup, slider, and then he's got 2 different fastballs, which is interesting. I'm looking right now, so it's really not so much an issue of when he throws his fastball up in the zone it gets hit. It's more like he throws it up in the zone too much, I should say. So if you
he's got to throw it above the zone. He's got to just get it
above the zone or keep it low. It's too much in the middle ground. I'm looking at the chart right now. It's
always like upper third of the zone. Yeah,
change up and slider. It's all down low, which is beautiful. It's just the fastball. So I'm much more confident with like a location issue rather than like this guy's fastball is 91 miles an hour. And nobody's fooled by it. It's flat and it's. I think he's going to be fine. So the more you look into Bello, the more confident you are in the way he's going to develop. So yeah, I'm excited to see his future, but I don't want to give the Red Sox too much credit because this is like putting on your pants in the morning. You should
they shouldn't get a ton of credit, but the truth of the matter is this is the second player that the Red Sox have signed to a pre-arb extension. Second guy who's had 2 years of service time or less since 2011 that they've signed to a pre-arb extension. The other one was Garrett Whitlock before the 2022 season, and that was like what they did that contract even hit $20 million of value guaranteed?
No, I think it was 5 for 18.
Like, yeah. So like, I mean,
it's disgusting that they like. How do you not? They're so. I was thinking today when we saw Bello, who's 24 years old, get extended. It felt weird being like, oh my God, that's the team I root for. I'm so used to seeing the Brewers or the Phillies or the Braves. Best
Braves
extend these guys young. It feels so good when your team does it. It's amazing. Like, wait, he's not going to leave for the Dodgers or the Padres? This is amazing. Well, knock on wood for now.
Yeah, I stand corrected. Garrett Whitlock was 4 for 18.8.
Yeah, like, okay,
But
I'm glad they did that.
You got to think too. At the time, he was a pre-arb extended reliever
that they wanted to make a starter, and are still trying to make him a starter.
I guess, like, in terms of negotiations, they were negotiating with the reliever. They're like, "Psych, bitch, starter."
Yep.
And so they just kept throwing him out there. So,
and it's interesting, and we can. I want to pivot to, since we're already on the subject of Whitlock, we can take a look at the future of the rotation, because we spent so much time. Don't Pat. Don't It's obviously it needs work, but
just a bit.
I'm looking at the rotation right now, and I'm just going to lay it out there. So, for the sake of hope and for the sake of, I think, reasonable expectation, let's assume that 2 of the 3 of Cutter, Houck, and Whitlock turn into major league starting pitchers.
Okay.
I'm not saying they are mid or frontline starters. In this case, I'm planning for 2 of those guys to be your 4 and your 5. If those guys are your 4 and your 5, and Bello is your 2, this means you have to either plunge prospects into a trade for a frontline dude or sink money into it. And then you have to figure out the long-term solution at the 3. I don't know if that's Nick Pivetta. I don't know what Lucas Giolito's situation is going to be. You're going to have to figure out the 3 spot. It's obviously much easier to have this conversation once we know for sure what Lucas Giolito's timeline is. Like, if it's all-star break.
You got to make a splash at some point. There's
nobody for the number 1. They do.
There's nobody in the pipeline coming who you think is an ace. We barely have anyone that we can look at and go like, this is a major league starting pitcher. Sandlin might be the second or third best. Like
Dick Fitz,
probably the most likely to become. I'm still not sold that Perales and Gonzalez are.
I'm not either.
Starting pitchers. I think they'll be major league pitchers.
Absolutely, major league relievers.
You watch. I don't know if either of you saw Wickelman. That's a lot of movement in his delivery, and Perales is like my size, and he's throwing gas, so he might be he reminds me of K-Rod. I don't know if you guys remember that.
Oh,
the early 2000s.
Yeah.
He was sick.
Come on. Just the herky jerky.
Yeah, a little less crazy, but
he was great.
Yeah, I'm still,
as a reliever.
I'm still of the belief that there's gonna have to be something significant. I'm not even talking like a Montgomery type. I'm talking like a Luzardo, some ace type pitcher, but I don't think that's coming this year, but in the future.
Well, it should come, if we're being honest with ourselves, and I'm not saying that this is going to happen, but what the team obviously needs is a guy who can headline the front of your rotation and eat innings. And lucky for them, one of the best in the game to do it currently is a free agent next year, and he just got traded to the Orioles. Like, this team should get Corbin Burns next year.
Class is loaded with aces.
I don't know if I want him to be the guy. We'll see how Corbin he does.
Burns,
Matt Fried, why not?
Walker Buehler.
I think that class is a bit overrated. We'll talk about this eventually, but I think Burns has declined each of the last 3 years. We'll see how he does with the Orioles. He's going to be fine in that giant ballpark, but you got to look at the underlying numbers. Wheeler's already off the market. Fried, I cannot envision hitting the market or not going back.
Oh, he's gonna, dude. They've tried.
Buehler,
they tried to extend Fried so many times. He's not having it.
I bet he's gonna. I'm pretty confident he'll go back to the break. We'll see.
Maybe he will. But he's gonna hit the market.
Buehler is kind of a weird one because he hasn't pitched in a year and a half. So we'll see. Buehler. Who's the other one, Pat?
I love Buehler. It was Wheeler. And
Bieber.
Bieber. I want nothing to do with Shane Bieber.
So you got two guys coming off. You got Bieber, is he hurt or trying to pitch through something? He's got injury concerns.
No,
He's old.
but he's looked okay. He's looked okay. His velocity's up this spring, supposedly.
But he
It's
still gives you
interesting.
the heebie-jeebies. We
Definitely
just had it
does.
with Giolito. And then you got Bueller, who's coming off a serious injury, so we'll see with him. Fried, who's going to cost a ton. Nice Jewish boy. Hope he comes to town. And Burns, who I wouldn't be upset if the Red Sox got Burns. Of course, that'd be great. I just don't know if I want to have him in Boston for 7 years. How's he going to?
The thing is, with a guy like Burns, it's, yes, you're going to have to invest long term. Yes, you're going to have to give him high AV. You're going to have to give him a bunch of money. But the reason I feel more comfortable doing that with a guy like Burns rather than a guy like, we'll use an example, Blake Snell right now, is Corbin Burns, even at his worst, is going to eat innings, even if he doesn't succeed. Whereas Blake Snell, if he doesn't succeed, he's going 3 1/3 and you're eating the rest of that game. Corbin Burns is going to get you through 6 or 7 every time.
Counterpoint, you don't want your ace to be a guy you described as an innings eater.
Why? I like eating innings.
Look at Zach Wheeler. Zach Wheeler?
That's an ace, though. He's an innings eater who gets close to 200 Ks and has a low innings eater.
You don't want an ace who's an innings eater?
No. When I hear a guy described as an innings eater, I'm thinking of a guy who's like just logging innings out there.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's not
Like,
Burns, though.
we-
That's
we-
at his
we-
worst. That's what he is. That's the worst case scenario is he's Rick Porcello in like the final year of his deal.
Okay, fair. I see what you're saying. Yeah, I
2016?
wouldn't be upset if the Red Sox got Corbin Burns. I'm sure we'd all flip out. We'd post our Brez Milk GIF all over the internet. Yeah.
Just
But-
milking.
I would rather someone younger. I'd rather spend more on Fried. I'd
love that. Come on.
Yeah.
It's all great. Just
Burns
get one of
freaks me out.
them.
I gotta see him outside of the Milwaukee pitching factory. So,
But he's in the Baltimore pitching factory now. they're pretty damn good at it too.
they developed what? Bradish. Who else?
Dude, their bullpens, they just
Every bullpen arm they've ever had.
like they're just like Cionel Perez is just like gonna come out of nowhere and have like a 1 ERA.
He's not. Is he even still on the team? CNL Perez.
He was bad last year. I don't know why he came to mind.
Yeah,
but
but
look
they
at
have
his
like Yennier Cano, Felix Bautista.
way better example is fucking Cano. Oh my
I was gonna
God.
say, what?
Yeah. No.
Where am I going with this?
Those are two. Okay, but like, I'm not gonna come. Cano's pretty crazy. We'll see if he does it again.
Jorge Lopez?
No.
Hey, they couldn't get him twice though.
Jorge
And
Lopez.
the most shocking one of them all is they couldn't fix Fujinami. That guy throws like 100 gazillion miles an hour, and
But
he went to the
that's
Mets.
my point, is they're not quite at the like Brewers, Astros, Mariners, Marlins, where they just churn these guys out. They're okay, but they also have the most gigantic left field in the history of left fields ever, which helps. But yeah, they developed Bradish. Even Grayson Rodriguez was supposed to be like the second coming of Christ, and he didn't look that great last year. So
He looked good at the end. You
Pump
be
the
careful there. Be careful there, Samuel. Grayson's about to have a big season. I play fantasy, and he just got kept by another team, and I was ready to like throw my computer. I was going to take him so early, and I can't.
No, I'm joking. He's going to be nasty. I'm just fucking around. But I got a dynasty draft coming up in like 2 weeks. I would
Mine's on Saturday.
love to get great. It's like 4 hours long though, because it's our first one. We're starting a new league. Yeah.
Can I give you guys a sleeper pick, and then I'll ask you a couple questions related to extensions.
Fantasy sleeper pick, or is it just a?
Okay, it's not, one of them is not a big sleeper, especially we've talked about him before. And Sammy, actually, I think you've expressed that you like him. So this isn't going to be anything new to you, but the second one, maybe. The first one, they're both twins. Bailey Ober.
Love him.
Oh,
Wait, I know who you're going to say. You're going to say Royce Lewis.
No, but he's going to be great too.
Julian.
Yes, that's the other.
there
He's
it is.
crazy.
Yeah.
He's crazy.
Bergeron. It reminds me of Patrice. He's French Canadian.
They were just like, yeah, like we definitely do not need you anymore, Jorge Polanco, because we've got Edward.
Edward.
But he couldn't speak English when he got to the Twins, and they needed to get a French translator for him.
What?
You don't hear that very often. I thought that was interesting. Just unique.
Oh my God.
The Twins. Hey, that's good though. That's a big hockey market, so I'm sure there's a lot of like French Canadian dudes in that region who could help them out.
Minnesota.
Just a bunch of French Canadian dudes helping each other out.
That's what we like to see.
I don't know.
All right. Next on the docket, when he came into the game today, Tanner Howe came in the game today. Bradfo tweeted that the Red Sox have had discussions on an extension with Tanner Houck. Houck told him that, but said that nothing is imminent or anything like that. But I feel like you either, I don't know. Houck is a polarizing dude, especially just because we still, even after all these years, don't really know his role. And that makes an extension kind of awkward because obviously he's going to want to be paid like a starter because he thinks he's a starter. And they're probably going to want to do with him like what they did with Whitlock, which is pay him like a reliever and then make him into a starter. Yeah. Obviously, it's got to be a delicate situation on both sides. Who knows how close it is, but curious. Sammy, I'll let you go first.
I just think it makes no sense because, I mean, you just said it right there. He's going to want to get paid like a starter. He's not a starter yet. I think he could be. I think we all agree he's got a shot to be a starter, but he's definitely not one yet. And they're not going to pay him starter money. And the third thing is he's already locked up through his age 31 season. So why the rush with, I mean, I didn't get, that one was confusing when I saw that today. Like, why him? I like him, but why him?
Yeah. You know how I stand on those guys. I don't think he's a starter. I don't think he will be a starter. That being said, if you're going to pay him like a starter, you do not pay him before this year. You give him a year as a starter, and you revisit it next year.
Yeah, that's when like you wait for the price to go up.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
His price can only go so high with his track record, and I mean that like well, like he's shown flashes of brilliance, but one very good year with a track record of very average isn't going to balloon him up to the $100 million range. Like you can wait on him if you're dying. But even Sammy said he signed through 31. We're going to sign him through 33. Like, I don't know. I don't get it.
Well, that's what makes this interesting to me. That I didn't understand it until I saw the age 31 thing, because we've seen so many pitchers fall apart as soon as they hit that big 3-0 marker. Houck might be a guy who wants to secure his financial future before that point. And maybe the only way to do that is to accept that you're going to get paid like a reliever, and then you see where you go from there. It could be interesting because the Sox could lock him in at a pretty low value, like pay him like he's a swingman and lock him in. And
you
hold on. Say that?
Contract? Yes or no for Houck? Would you do it?
Who?
Yes.
What contract?
Whitlock contract. So wait, actually, Whitlock was 4 years, 4 years, 18, 4 years, 19. We'll call it 18.
Because even if the thing with Houck is, even if he doesn't pan out. So first off, if negotiations are starting as him as a starting pitcher, that's the end of negotiations.
I agree.
If he says, I want what Garrett got, yes. Because
I pay him more.
His
you
stuff
actually have to
absolutely plays out of the bullpen.
Let me back up real quick.
That's the guarantee. You have a guaranteed major league pitcher here.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Let me back up real quick because I said the same as Whitlock, which would be 4 for about 19 million. That wouldn't work with Houck because he's already under contract for the next 4. So it would have to be more than 4 years at a similar rate, if that makes sense. So the same
4 years,
same rate.
22. Yeah.
Yeah. Sure,
okay, hold on. How about this? Let's just phrase it. Let's just make it simple. You're buying out all of his arbitration years. The next, 4 years he's got left? Or is it 3 years? 4? He's got 4 years.
Pre-arb and then 3 arb years following that until.
Okay, so he's got 4 years left. He's got 4 years left. And let's say you're paying him like he's a swingman reliever and you're paying him basically what his arb value is going to be. How many free agent years are you willing to buy out, and how many team options do you want after that?
That's such a hard. This is why you don't extend him. This conversation. Yeah. How do you answer that question? That's an impossible question. It's a great question. Good job, Gordo. But like, I don't know, 2 maybe.
You'd guarantee him 2?
Maybe 1.
I think I'd do 1.
It depends on the price, man. That's impossible. This is why I wouldn't extend him right now.
I think I would do. How old is he right now? 27.
I believe so.
This is his age 28 season. By the time he's a free agent in 2028, he will be 32. That'll be his age 32 season.
Okay. So he has 4 years under contract right now. I would give him 5 years off the bat, like 5 guaranteed. He gets 1 year bought out.
So okay, you're buying out 1 year. And how many team options do you want for that?
2. But
that's exactly what I was going to say.
Each one more expensive. Like I think the base would be something along the lines of like 5 for 30. And then the first option there is like 12 million. And then the second year is like 15, just in case he does pan out.
Yes. Well, that Pat, you're exactly right, because the option years need to be you're paying him like a starter, and if he's not a
Yes,
starter, you're
exactly.
going to
Yeah.
let him hit the market, and he can get paid like the reliever that he is. That contract, God, Marco Gonzalez got around the $30 million, and I think that's about right, because you're guaranteed, like, the thing that Marco Gonzalez doesn't have that Tanner Houck has is the ability to fall back as Tanner Houck has the ability to play above his starter ability if you put him in the bullpen. I don't think a guy like Marco Gonzalez, Marco Gonzalez's value is that he can eat a bunch of innings for you. He's not going to play up in the bullpen. Houck, you've got that safety net.
Yeah. Yeah. But like I said, this is why you don't extend him. He's got the safety net, and we have no clue what he is. So why not wait? Even if the price goes up, I'd rather the price go up on this guy than have him under contract and us all be like, oh, we're stuck with this guy. I don't think
Sammy,
it'll get to that point, but
it just depends on what you're paying him, because if you're paying him like a reliever, then there's no risk, because I don't think there's any risk in paying Houck like a reliever. He could take it just because he doesn't, like, it's hard to hit the market as a 31-year-old pitcher.
Yeah.
Like, he could just want to secure his financial future. Who knows?
If he wants to secure his financial future, like you say, and he wants to take the Whitlock contract, sure. I don't.
It's true.
Yeah.
You're not gonna extend for Tanner yet.
Not yet. I'm a big believer in Houck, though. We'll see. The more I see of him, I'm like, that's a starter. So it's also a lot of
the opposite. That's so funny.
It's just so hard, because you see him in spring training, he's dominating, but it's like, okay, we've seen him dominate for 3 innings so many times. Like, it's just a matter of, can we see him dominate the 5th and the 6th innings? And I do think he has it in him. It's just, will we see it?
But isn't that more encouraging than a guy like Winkowski or Whitlock, where the stuff is playing down? For Houck, it's like the stuff looks fine. It's just he needs to. I don't know. I'm not a pitching coach, but like the stuff looks good, so it's just a
matter. You do the deal if you believe in your pitching program, which is a risk, because this pitching program is being assembled as we speak. Like, this is year 1 of it, so there is a lot of risk involved there. Like, we look at Andrew Bailey as this like god of pitching coaching or whatever, but the fact of the matter is we've only seen him do it for realsies in San Francisco. I know he was a bullpen coach in LA with the Angels, but like, we've only seen him be the pitching coach once, and we don't know what infrastructure was in place there, like who's contributing to what. Like, Bailey gets all this credit from us, but the fact of the matter is we haven't seen it yet, so we need to see it.
He's a coach. He can only do so much. People are kind of I feel like people need to reel it in a little bit with Andrew Bailey. I'm sure he's great at his job, but he's not a fucking magician. He also had the benefit of being in cold, windy, gigantic San Francisco ballpark. So
big.
Yeah, I have a question for you guys, and I don't want to sound like an Andrew Bailey hater. I really like the guy, and I think he's great. It's a Giolito injury. Talking about changing his mechanics, adding.
I meant to ask Pat this at last episode, Sammy. I meant to do this. Ask your question.
Any connection there with the guy who changes mechanics, hasn't gotten hurt since Nam, and now he's hurt, and you're like, or am I just? I have no. For the record, I have no clue what I'm talking about when it comes to anything medical. So defer to Pat.
Well, Zach Scott had a tweet, and Pat, you can give your response. I'll try to find the tweet from Zach Scott, because he had an opinion on this that I'll read out.
Yeah, I think like tweaking mechanics and tweaking like just mechanics in any sport is always like a weird like adjustment period. Something like a UCL, all it takes is one throw, but I mean, it's not like he's going from throwing from his left hand to his right hand. Like, it's not something so drastic where you're like, it might not feel great, but let's try this. Like, it's very subtle tweaks. It's not going to be anything that's going to further damage anything. And if I had to guess, like Giolito, like he's 12 years after his first one. It's not uncommon for guys to need a second one. And then I think 12 years is a long fucking time with a reconstruction. I don't know. I think it was probably something that's kind of gradually been built up. And that's something on the medicals that you see a reconstruction done. You're like, looks good. But no, I don't think anything like a minor tweak of a kit. Because I mean, I'm sure if we pulled up video of Giolito throwing last year and Giolito throwing this spring, they would be like comparably pretty similar.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's anything drastic enough where you're like, oh God, like maybe it's a mechanics thing. Like I think it's just kind of a natural course. And it just sucks that it happened now. But Gordo, what were you gonna say?
I just find it interesting because you think of the teams that you kind of, I guess, align with these pitching programs, and I think of the Rays and all the guys that they have that get hurt. I think of the Dodgers, and like Buehler underwent Tommy John. Dustin May's gone down a gazillion times. Like they've had a bunch of these things too. So I want to read Zach Scott's tweet about Giolito when he went down. He said, "Hopefully the changes to stuff, especially the slider, didn't push the ligament over the edge. Sometimes optimizing stuff doesn't align with optimal health. Worth keeping an eye on as the Sox change their pitching infrastructure and may be eager to see impactful gains."
Yeah. So
Well, what's it? Does he have a medical background, or is he
Zach
just
Scott?
Is he just being like me and just being like,
No,
guy
I
changed
think he
all
just.
that?
But
Hurt.
so first, I'll address the Rays thing. The Rays thing is interesting because I don't think it's their infrastructure. I'm gonna nerd out for a second. Research shows that high velo throwers are you used to think it was curveball. High velo throwers are the most at risk for Tommy John and UCL tears. That profiles as the Tampa Bay Rays. They target those guys who pump 96 plus. Look at Pete Fairbanks. Pete Fairbanks throwing 101 every day.
But Pat, think about it. The Red Sox right now are trying to increase velocity in their pitchers.
So yes, but I think there's a difference between adding velo like you would Bello, Giolito, these guys, than what the Rays do and draft guys who already throw velo and they're fine tuning the other shit. Like guys who've been throwing 100 for years, their elbows will go with time. What Bailey and the new infrastructure is doing is trying to maximize velo. And that's what Driveline is. Like Driveline is the peak of biomechanics in baseball. If there was something your arm was doing that you shouldn't be doing or they think puts you at risk, that's what it finds.
No wasted motion.
It finds your peak arm slot. It finds where you could be making up miles per hour. Most guys, it's in the legs. Like it's not even in the arm. Most guys, it's like if you drop
Strider.
Exactly. Yeah. If you drop your trunk down more and then really like lever yourself and push forward, like all the stuff. And then sure, like you might tweak with like pitch grips. Like I'm sure Giolito might have had a different grip on his slider, like shit like that. But Tampa, that's their profile. Like they draft guys who already throw 100.
Mm-hmm.
That's different than taking a guy who throws 94, trying to make him throw 96. So I think that's the difference there. I think it would be a massive jump to conclusion to say like this new infrastructure is
definitely
at like potentially causing these injuries when it's been one and it's a guy with a history of a UCL tear. That's what I think.
But Sammy, to your original point though, with the Andrew Bailey, I was thinking about it today and the other day because Andrew Bailey had a dugout interview on ESPN today during the game, and 2 days ago MLB Network was at Red Sox camp and they were interviewing a bunch of guys. It's like, okay, we're gonna interview the manager, we're gonna interview like the new guy Vaughn Grissom, their top prospect Marcelo Meyer, like we're gonna interview Tristan Casas, the star, and we're gonna interview Andrew Bailey, the pitching coach. And it's like, how many pitching coaches have gotten this kind of attention? And I don't, it's, and this is to repeat exactly what Sammy says, this is not me being an Andrew Bailey hater. I just have never seen a pitching coach get this much hype. And it's not like Andrew Bailey is like a 20-year pitching guru who's been at this and has revitalized careers for decades. Like this is a guy who's had success for sure, but he's still pretty fresh at this.
Doesn't it honestly kind of feel like when a football team hires like this brand new, super young, state-of-the-art like offensive coordinator?
Dude, he's a Sean McVay disciple. That's exactly what this is.
Like that's exactly what this feels like. It's like this guy comes in and they're like, West Coast offense, like Joe Flacco's thrown for 7,000 yards this year. Like Mike McDaniel, he is getting like it's to that point where it's like this guy's a pitching guru. Like they're gonna have a great staff. It's that point. It's like, all right, let's pump the brakes a little bit.
see it.
It's
We
these
gotta see
guys
it.
aren't new major leaguers. This is the first year of an infrastructure. And most guys, it's small tweaks. Most guys, it's honestly, mostly it's pitch mix and where you throw it. It's not like, oh, we're going to teach you a gyro ball. Like it's very minor things that maximize how good they can be. So, but yes, Gordo, I agree. Like, when's the last time you saw a pitching coach get like this kind of publicity? It does feel like this
It has to
McVay,
do with-
McDaniel, like this like giant coaching hire.
We also haven't had much to talk about in terms of like big additions all off season. So the fan base in general has hyped him up, and I get that. It's
kind of the one thing you can grasp onto for hope, because like it's
dude,
one
it's
of the
crazy.
few things they're not running back.
Anytime there's any sort of clip of any pitcher on the Red Sox, every comment on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, it's all like, maybe not Facebook, Andrew Bailey, put him in the Andrew Bailey lab. And I'm like, yo, great.
The Bailey lab.
But like, relax. He's not a fucking wizard, man. He's not going to snap his fingers and turn Cooper Criswell into, Logan Webb. So I just pumped the brakes a bit on that. People are nuts over Andrew Bailey. It's Bailey mania.
It is. And we believe in Andrew Bailey. I think he's a top of the echelon pitching coach. As you said, Sammy, or maybe it was Pat, I forget, but it's the same pitchers. Like we want to see it. We know they have it in them, but like just the presence of Andrew Bailey in a new infrastructure is not going to make it happen. These guys have to make it happen themselves. They are the players. They're the ones throwing the pitches. We got to see it from them. I think, and I hope we will to an extent. Obviously, I don't think they're all going to hit, but I feel better about it than I did last year.
And not to mention when you do bring in a new pitching infrastructure, and this is not just Andrew Bailey, this is Bodie and all the guys that they've brought in to
Willard
beef up the infrastructure. Yeah, what is it?
Willard,
Justin Willard.
Willard, that's the name, and then Junis in AAA. Like that takes a long time to start, bearing the fruits of the labor that they've put in. That doesn't happen overnight. I wouldn't even say next year, maybe like
3 to 5. 3 to 5 years.
It takes a long time. Think about it. Craig Breslow has been lauded for finding guys with high velocity and, turning them into great pitchers. Look at the Cubs rotation last year. It was Steele, Hendricks, Assad, who else? Stroman. All of those guys.
Jameson
Tyone. All of those guys, maybe with the exception of Tyone, have like 91, 92 mile an hour fastball.
Yeah, it's weird, right?
Yeah, and I like what the Cubs did. They went like hardcore defense on the infield to supplement that, and it worked. But like, chill with the Andrew Bailey stuff. I'm sure he'll do great, but again, I'll say this for a third time. He's not a wizard. He's not a magician. He can't snap his fingers and turn friggin', Cooper Criswell into an ace. So let's, still the same guy.
It does sound like he's gotten buy-in. I will say that they have bought in.
Yeah,
which is
great.
Important. That's how the Rays did it. Like Jake Diekman talks about, like I remember he talked to Rob, and Rob was like, "How did you get so much better with the Rays?" And Diekman basically said, "They just told me to throw it down the middle." And other people have said, "We've tried to do that before. We just can't get buy-in." The Rays just get buy-in. Like so, yeah. I that's part of it.
That's the thing. Like, there's gonna be guys who maybe the new infrastructure doesn't necessarily benefit and they don't get that buy-in. And that's why you see that 3 to 5 year period where you really see the fruits of your labor, because those are the guys who invest. Those are the guys who completely develop within that new infrastructure. Giolito's a guy who has had a great track record. He eats innings, all this stuff. A guy like that who's already established, it's a few fine tweaks. That being said, come this summer, if they draft a college kid, that kid is going through every single step of the way, the new infrastructure. So when that kid comes up, that is you'll see some improvement all across the board, ideally, with the major league pitching staff right now. When you start having guys in the pipeline who come up, jump up, throw 100, they're mid threes, low threes, sub 3. That's when you really see the fruits of your labor. The guys right now, they're buying into the tweaks. They're buying into maximizing what they can do. It's the 3 to 5 years from now when you're really going to see how good this infrastructure truly is.
Yeah, you're going to see it how they draft, and you're going to see it how they develop in the low minors. And the biggest changes they've made are in the upper minors. Actually, the AAA is where they've really overhauled it, getting new catchers. Like they've got like 6 new catchers this year. Like
Yeah.
it's crazy.
Yeah.
Colesberry. You were. I
Yeah.
can't
Very
believe you
good.
were right.
They
about that,
should.
Gordo. Crazy.
And-
You're like, it's Colesberry. I'm like, there's no way, Gordo. Get out of here. And I looked it up exactly how you pronounced it.
Gordo, you just mentioned it. The draft. They have to go college pitcher. They haven't taken a college pitcher in the first round since Tanner Houck.
Yeah, I
got
bet they
an-
do.
I got an idea. What if they take a high school shortstop?
Shut up.
No,
Boot him.
they've never done that before, Sammy.
Yeah, dude, that's one of my biggest like pet peeves. People are like, they took another shortstop. Like, bro, they're all
many people-
shortstops at that age. No, but I agree. They should take a pitcher. They got to get more guys for the lab. I'm just kidding. I want like a big guy, like give me a guy who looks like a moose,
Yeah.
like Nick York's brother, but a pitcher.
Yeah, there's
Just
a
draft all
bunch
the
of guys.
just draft all the Wake Forest kids. That's all.
Yeah, I just
Yeah,
said there's
Wake Forest pitcher, sure. Villanova. No, not Villanova.
Vanderbilt.
Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
And then there's the kid at Arkansas, Hagen Smith.
Yeah, sure.
It's no. Like this year is a very, very good pitching class. I would be appalled if they did not pounce on a guy who I remember a couple of years ago, Garrett Crochet was a guy who profiled as
Love him.
like as a guy who's like draft ready. Like this guy could be in the MLB tomorrow. And he literally was. He was in the MLB like 2 weeks later.
So tough.
Like there's a bunch of guys who are going to be like a year of development, maybe less, and are like major league ready pieces. So I would bet the ranch on a college pitcher first round.
I agree. It's tough though, man. I mean, you remember Crochet hasn't really done much since his
Tommy
rookie
John,
season,
right?
Yeah, he
yeah.
did.
Right, it went down, and now he's pitching now. He struck out Otani. Actually, I remember.
Yeah, Crochet's good. His stuff plays.
Oh god,
Yeah,
it's
nasty.
disgusting.
But then you got like Leiter, Rocker. Both aren't looking fantastic. Leiter a little better than Rocker, so it's tough, man.
Well, that's the thing is pitchers are risky. They just inherit.
Yeah.
There's inherent risk there
time to take a
at
risk
every step.
Yeah. They played it safe. It seems like, I mean, aside from the Nick York here, they've taken like the best player available, which is a smart draft strategy most times. Best player available, you figure out what to do with them later. But it's to the point now where your position player in this like depth in the system is way too much. Like you got to take a risk at some point.
Yeah.
Whether it be first or second round, like maybe it's a college guy in the second, whatever it is. But now's the time. Like you really got to be able to identify what guys profile well for your new infrastructure and pounce on it. Take that risk, get those guys.
Yeah,
Especially, Gordo, you said it too. The rotation, sure, if guys pan out, whatever, it's not the worst the next couple of years. You get a college arm who takes a year or two to develop, that rotation gets way better, even if he's a back end guy. Like that.
At that point, you'd have depth. At
Take
that point, pitching depth. It may not be like frontline pitching depth, but they'd have a depth of starters if they can produce a couple of these guys.
Yeah.
Like all these guys that we're talking about in the back, like the Cutters, the Houks, the Whitlocks, like they're not going anywhere anytime soon. Like you've got these guys. So anything you develop, you just add to that. And obviously Bello, they've got locked up for the next 6 or 7 years. So anything you add to it.
I just wish they acted like they acted in like, the last before 2020, where it's like, all right, we're unbelievable at developing bats. Let's just draft a bunch of bats and then let's sign this pitcher, trade for this pitcher. Oh, hey, look, we developed some relievers. Cool. But like, they had such a friggin' formula going,
and then they just stopped the signing and trading.
All right, God, we got to develop pitchers. I'm like, wait, no, you don't. You can just buy them like you did when you won those 4 World Series, but they're not gonna. So, yeah, I think they should take a college pitcher, not a high school. That's beyond risky. That's
way risky. Yeah.
Jay Groom was
a
in
process.
Yeah.
Jay Groom was a high school. Yeah.
So it's so boring. It's like, oh, cool, you draft this pitcher. See you in 5 fucking years, maybe.
Yeah. Actually, the kid the Royals took, Gordo, you might remember this. The kid the Royals took, I think 2 years ago. He was like a projected like 3rd round guy. Number 9, the Royals took Frank Mazzucato.
No, I'm not familiar.
Okay. Oh yeah.
Mazzucato, how you doing?
Yeah, but he was a guy who like profiled as like a day 2, whatever. And I remember me and all my friends were watching the MLB draft that year. And it's like with the number 9 overall pick, the Royals select Frank Mazzucato. And my buddy who lives in Connecticut goes, my brother fucking played that kid this year. He's from the town that I currently live in. His family owns a
Ooh.
bakery up the street.
Oh,
Yeah, just funny. But
what do
that's
they
the guy
call it?
who
Is
has
it called Mazzucato's?
Mazzucato's Bakery, yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
Sammy, to your point, that's a guy who is overreached. They identified, like, I don't know what he threw at the time, but a guy who was, they saw his high upside. That kid hasn't sniffed the top 100 list. It's been 2 years. So college pitcher this year, do it.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then put him in the Bailey lab.
Oh, the lab.
Sorry, I had to poke fun. I'm a Bailey fan. We're all Bailey fans. Make it abundantly clear. It's just it's a bit much.
Yeah. So you guys got any upsets before we get out of here?
I got a weird one. Really weird enough said.
Let's hear your weird said.
Yeah. Pat, as a regular gym goer, I think you'll appreciate this. This happened to me today at the gym while I was doing that new lower body exercise you showed me. Very good. Thank you. So I'm at the gym. It's just me in there. It's the gym in my building. So it's normally just me or one other person maybe.
I love that.
Yeah. And I'm doing some squats. And then this person walks in with jeans and a t-shirt, walks in straight ahead, gets on the elliptical machine, does the elliptical for 10 minutes, gives me a head nod, leaves. No warm up, no cool down, in jeans and like work shoes and a regular, like whatever, like it could be just a whatever, Gordo, like what you're wearing, some t-shirt. Bizarre. Like, what? And it was so fast. And like I said, no, didn't get warm at all. Like,
were they working hard or no? Like how fast? Like
really.
how?
It was kind of like
what percentage?
Like March. It was so weird. The time between this person entering the gym and starting their workout was 2 seconds, maybe. Just get in, get on, out. It was the weirdest way to do the gym. And then in jeans, I couldn't get over jeans. It's the last thing I would want to wear to the gym. So anyway, yeah, I just thought that was. I had to like pause and be like, "What just happened?" That was so fast and. Yeah.
People like say to not people watch in the gym, but people watching in the gym is like one of the greatest things.
It's a delight.
So I also use the gym in my building, and just like thinking recent, like there's this guy who he's like a Luke Cornett looking motherfucker, and he just like goes into the gym and he walks in circles and he stares at himself in the mirror and leaves. He doesn't do anything. He just walks in circles, stares at himself in the mirror and leaves.
Oh, you know what that is? That's somebody with like really bad gym anxiety who like got themselves in the gym and then they're like, I can't do it, and they left. That's what I think that is.
Oh, that could be that.
Yeah.
I've also got the opposite of that. We have like this guy is definitely not lower than 65. I'm very sure he's got to be closer to 70 than to 65. And he goes into the gym, he does fucking handstands. I swear to God, full on handstands. He's like doing the weight machines, and I use the same ones as him, and I follow him up, and he has it on the lowest weight possible. So he's literally just like moving his arms like it's nothing. But then he goes in the center of the gym and stands on his head.
That's nuts, man. That's so like, oh, you're doing your elderly person workout.
And then that.
God, what the fuck, dude? Yeah, that's great. I like seeing when like older people. My grandma just turned 90. She still does 2 days a week at the gym.
Hey, congrats. There you go.
But anyway, that's my enough said. Weird dude in jeans on the elliptical with no warm up and no cool down. And then at the end just turns to me and goes, leaves.
Little head nod. Yeah, there's no such thing as the judgment-free zone.
No.
Judge me. I probably look really unimpressive at the gym. They're like, wow, he's curling those 15s like they're nothing. Ooh.
Oh, my gym face is disgusting. I pray no one ever takes a picture of me when I'm like pushing anything. Like
a tomato, man. My face gets so red when I run in the summer. Oh my God. I hope nobody sees. I run at the res on like the C line or C or D line. Oh my God. I look awful. I'll send you guys a picture one day when it's hot and I go on a run. I look like the color of our little clips that Coop posts where it's like a tweet and then he puts the red hue over them. I look like that.
Yeah. You're just like a fucking tomato.
I'll send you a pic. When it gets hot out, I'll send you a pic.
Pat, you got anything?
Yeah, I do.
Every time you do the pause, I'm like, oh shit, what's he gonna
try it? And like, all right. So here's the thing: it's
Yeah,
none of my business.
do.
Legitimately, it is none of my business.
Oh no.
You do you. I will not yuck anyone's yum. All right. People need to be fucking adults and order coffee that is not chocolate milk. It's crazy. Lady in front of me at Dunks
I will
today,
let you do this. You do Mary Lou's.
I get a black coffee from Mary Lou's.
All right,
I've been drinking
continue.
black coffee for 6 years. Black coffee for 6 years. Black coffee for 6 years.
Coop didn't
Lady in
step
front
in
of
when
me-
we were talking about Bieber, but he steps in for that.
Because
So
I don't want lies on this podcast.
I drink black coffee.
First of all, but also Mary Lou's is not good coffee. Unless they want to sponsor the podcast, not good coffee.
It's okay.
Wild
Go
to go
bake
there
your
for black
sourdough.
coffee.
Go put on your knit sweater. Turn your camera
That
off.
was a goddamn beautiful sweater.
It was a good sweater. Lady in front of me today at Dunks. Caramel swirl. Whatever. Fine. Dude, I don't care. 6 extra.
I don't know what that language means because I don't drink any coffee.
That is 12 cream and 12 sugars, Gordo.
Ooh.
Then why don't you
It
just
came out and it looked like cake batter. It was thick. It looked so gross. And I'm like, just have chocolate milk in the morning. Just do something else.
Drink some
It's
cream.
crazy.
Oh god, there's two. Yeah, man, dude. Some of the coffee orders are just. Out of the nonprofit I do on Mondays, I actually turned down a guy's coffee order because I felt wrong giving it to him. He asked for 8 sugars in a tiny little cup, and I was just like, "Dude, you don't need 8 sugars." That's
like,
wrong.
have you seen? Oh wait,
That's what I said. I was like, "Can I give you 6?" And he was like, "Yeah, that's fine." I'm like, "Oh, 8?" I'm like, I'm trying to,
You ruined this guy's day. He wanted 8.
The
he
whole
needed
goal
the
is
8.
to, like, we want to like socialize these people and like help them get jobs and everything. And I'm like, am I doing a disservice by putting like 3 days worth of sugar in this guy's drink because he asked me to? Like, no. He will thank me someday. That's disgusting. And they're small cups of coffee. We give as many refills as you need, but like they're this big, small cup of coffee. And he wanted 8 scoops of sugar in it. Ugh, I just said,
the best example of this is Coop. Say what you're gonna say because I gotta find this.
I was going to say, do you feel bad that you just took food off the table of some glucose factory working family? That could have been a diabetic right there in the making. Now glucose families are going to go like hungry. You're putting them out of work.
I'm going to get canceled.
If that man wants diabetes, let him have diabetes.
No, I was like, look, this guy isn't good at like taking care of his own health. I'm going to step in and give him a little assist. And I still give him 6 sugars. That's still a disgusting amount.
That's candy.
Yeah.
All right.
And the coffee was like tan after that. Ugh.
I don't think it's still there, but the perfect example of just like sugar milk is the Dunk King's iced coffee. And as a Dunk King stan, it hurts to say it. It was like French vanilla iced coffee, 4 cream, 4 sugar, and then like vanilla and like caramel swirl. It was like.
Is this like the time you had the ice spice latte?
Just get
Dude.
Like, why are you doing
don't want
this
to
to
know
yourself?
what ice spice tastes like, friends.
I kind of want to know what ice spice tastes like.
It was chunks of munchkin in a pumpkin culotta. I don't like pumpkin. I don't even like munchkins, really.
So why'd you order it?
Because my friend, long story short, my friend's friend had a promo code for a free one. Like, hey, let's give it a whirl. Each sip just felt like somebody dropped like $10 in quarters in my stomach. It feels so disgusting. It's so heavy.
Dunkin's doing the
Dunkin' Donuts wants to sponsor.
We love Dunkin'. I love
Dunkin'. I get Dunkin' every day.
Who talks about Dunkin' more than I do? It's like my favorite thing.
You wear a Dunkin' hat.
In the breast milk, the breast milk GIF, you've got the full-on Dunkin' suit, pretty much.
Yeah, I have a onesie. Dunkin', Pat talking about like Dunkin' putting the munchkins in their drink. They're kind of doing the Taco Bell formula where they have the same few ingredients and they just change how they assemble them. And they're like, let's call this something completely different. Cool.
Instead of Pete Davidson, they had Ben Affleck.
Yeah, the Crunch Wrap. They're just like, let's just throw everything in one and wrap it up. sell it.
That's
for,
good though. That's
Oh,
good. Crunchwrap Supreme is good.
Oh yeah, it's incredible. But anyway, yeah, it's a lot of fast food talk.
Pat, share with the class.
Yeah,
I have a
Pat's.
second enough said.
Uh-oh. What
Do
do
you guys
got?
remember the Dolphins Chiefs game? All the people got frostbite in the stands.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Being shirtless. 70% of them are being recommended that they get amputations for their frostbite.
Wait. Was that a real story? I saw that today too, and I am a big.
Well, I know that it was
Big
legit
news.
that there was like over like 20 or 30 people who were hospitalized for frostbite for being shirtless. That
Yeah, but
would
they're
not
trying
surprise
hard,
me if
dude.
that was true.
Are dudes not allowed to have fun anymore?
Amputations?
Wow, dude, Coop, another example of the woke media trying to stop me from getting frostbite and amputations.
I suppose this is climate change.
Yeah.
You can't
Pro
stop my
football
amputations, Danny.
It's official. It's official. Pro football talk. Some fans who
Oh,
developed
okay.
frostbite during the Dolphins Chiefs playoff game might need amputations.
Well,
Oh,
God.
some 70%. That's a lot, but some. That's still a crazy story. Somebody.
Whatever happened to the dudes that died of fentanyl? Was there anything beyond that? Do you remember that?
No.
Fentanyl?
Oh, there were like dudes that were found watching the Chiefs, or they convened at someone's house to watch the Chiefs game. The thought is that they did some fentanyl. The owner left when they started like tweaking or whatever. And those guys were like, they were either found in the house or outside the house dead. And the guy that owned the house was like asleep for a couple days, I think. And
Yeah,
like all the
sounds
family members of the people that died went to go find them, couldn't find them. It was a huge court case. They were trying to figure out if it was like foul play.
Yeah, it happens.
Give
to
it a
the best.
Google.
Yeah.
True crime. We should turn play testing into a true crime podcast if things go real south.
I was going to say if the Sox start out like 2-15, like that's.
There's got to be some like serial killer like Red Sox, like from like the 1910s where you could get away from.
Oh,
with that.
hold on. Well, oh God, I can't believe I'm forgetting this name. He was a pitcher for the Red Sox. He tried to kill somebody.
What?
It wasn't Oil Can Boyd, was it?
No.
Carl Crawford we could talk about.
Oh my God, he had a great name too. He must have been on like the 2002 or 2003 Red Sox. This is gonna.
Oh, Ugleth Urbina.
Uguth, yes, Uguth
Yeah.
Urbina.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
of course. Everyone knows Ugleth.
Yeah. So yeah, we
Maybe
have former Red Sox players into some shady shit.
Ugleth.
We'll do like a crime doc.
Yeah,
If it
yeah.
gets that bad.
We'll do a deep dig on Uguth if things go south.
Yeah, we'll dive down the Fausto Carmona rabbit hole.
Ooh,
That was weird. Yeah.
hell yeah.
Coop, you a big fan of Ugleth?
I wouldn't name my child that, but
Oh, why not? It's a great name. One of the best
What
names
about
I've heard on a
Uguth?
baseball field.
what's the nationality on that?
Oh, I
Dominican.
couldn't tell you.
I think he's Canadian.
What?
Ugleth
He's
Urbina.
Italian.
I think he's from Fresno.
Ugleth.
It's like
Venezuela.
Shrek's from, do you know Shrek's
Yo,
from
thank you,
Fresno?
Coop. Thank you, Coop.
Wait, did you guys know Shrek is from Fresno?
Shrek is from Fresno.
Look it up. Shrek is from Fresno.
What does that even mean? He's from there.
What do you
He's
mean?
from like his.
It's
he's-
like I'm
he's
from
got his own
Anson.
world. No, he's in like his ogre town.
No, he's from Duloc, dude. He's from Duloc.
He
okay?
lived like a cave in Ogre Town or something.
Duloc. It's called Duloc.
Okay, he lived in Duloc.
Let me see. Where is this? Yeah, here it is.
If you're still listening, we love you.
Yeah.
No, he is. He's from Fresno.
He's from Fresno. Is it not on the Wikipedia anymore?
Is this a bit about somebody who looks like Shrek? And
No,
gonna...
Shrek on the Fresno Wikipedia was listed as a famous resident.
Oh, well, looks like he moved.
Wikipedia don't lie.
Oh, speaking of Shrek, if you guys like the Sponge Me Boy,
Oh God, I knew you were going there.
who you guys have seen.
Shrek is life. Shrek is life.
Okay,
Oh, I
good. Just
love
making
that
sure.
one.
Just making sure. All right, we don't have to watch that on the show. All right, I feel like we should wrap up. We've been talking about like
Yeah.
coffee and Shrek, and
I'll give my enough said, and then I'll get us out of here because mine's pretty quick. In-game interviews with guys on the field.
Stupid.
I'm done with that.
cool in spring training.
We've tried
Cool in
it.
spring training.
What?
It's fine in spring training and like the All-Star game.
No,
not in the
it's-
season.
But no, it's not even like in a way that these guys need to focus on the game. Like it's not about that.
You know what's the
I don't
worst?
care. They just
The
it's
worst-
just it's boring.
The worst is when they do it in hockey because they blur out all the. You can't play any of the fun shit. It's just let's go, boys. Hey, nice pass, Jonesy.
Oh, so you're talking about like the clips in between?
That's
like,
fine, Sammy. You can do that. Mic the guys up. I'm saying
like the interviews.
Like ESPN was literally interviewing, and like the Casas one was kind of funny, even though like half the interviews today were just them talking about them shitting and stuff.
Pooping.
But like,
yes, so much poop talk.
A lot of poop talk.
I didn't even mention that till now.
But like they were talking to Michael Harris in center field, and oh my god, it was like the most boring thing ever. It's like, please, buddy, I'm just trying to watch these guys hit. Like I don't
think
need
that's
Michael
the
Harris
issue.
to get
you have to find interesting guys.
But it's like no one's interesting when you're on the field and you're trying to like think through, like interview. When they were interviewing Austin Riley and he was sitting in the dugout, he was actually giving them something. Like it was like a good conversation. But when they're on the field and they're like trying to hold the guy on first base and be ready to field the ground ball if it's hit, it's like there's just you can't talk to them.
Okay, Gordo, let me give you the media angle, and this is just a shot in the dark. You like Hot Ones?
Yes. Shout out Sean Evans.
I've like only seen it once or twice.
Okay.
Very popular.
You know what it is. So the
Yes.
concept of Hot Ones is like you have the spicy wings and you give the interview and you get great quotes because you're in an unusual spot to be doing an interview because you're on fire and you're vulnerable. Kind of a similar concept in that like Casas is not used to doing an interview while he's on the field. Maybe it doesn't work as well as the Hot Ones formula, but it's still you have a guy in a setting that he's not used to being in, giving an interview, and so maybe you pull something cool from that. That's just how I would view. It's not a perfect comparison, but like the concept of putting your subject in an unusual environment and then doing an interview.
I think
that's a fair concept.
Mookie Betts set the bar too high.
Yeah,
because Mookie was like the first player to do it, and then he did it while doing something cool, and now they just expect every single player interview to be like that. When like, hey, the outfield is actually very boring from time to time.
It's just like I feel like the proof is in the pudding. Like we've seen so many of these things, and like only a few of them have actually given the fans anything better than actually just watching the game.
Yeah, they're not great. They're not great, but
the one that I liked last year, the Sox and Yankees game on Father's Day, they interviewed Michael King, and he was sitting in the bullpen, and they were interviewing him, and they brought his dad into the interview. And like Michael King did not know that his dad was going to be there. And it was like this really cool moment. Like shit like that is cool. Michael King's not in the game. Go ahead and interview those guys. Interview the pitchers who aren't in the game by all means. But just like if the guy's in the infield, like, okay, like we don't need to talk to you right now. Anything else before we wrap up?
That is it for me. Okay. I really want Duncan now.
Yeah, I ordered a counterfeit version of those Dunkings jackets because it has the I got the Sox logos on the sleeves, which the ones Duncan sold does not. So looking forward to that coming, but it's coming from China.
You didn't go with the Etsy one?
It was on Etsy, but they're still somehow producing it in China. Yeah, weird, right?
Oh. Guy hates local artists. Jeez.
Yeah.
Jeez. Yeah, Gordo, send me a link.
I got you.
Yeah, hit me up too.
I got you. Thank you. But on that note, and feel free to shoot us a DM if you want a link as well. But on that note, it's been episode 49 of Play Tessie. Brayan Bello's extended, and it's like one of the few times we've had good news on this damn show all offseason. We've been recording 3 episodes a week for months, and very rarely have we had actual good news to break down. We've had positive reports, but good real news, it's been rare. So it's been fun to do it. But took 49 episodes to get something truly like that. Let's hope it doesn't take another 49 to get the next one. Before you head out,
episode 50 next. Wait, not to cut you off there.
Yeah, big 5-0.
Are we gonna act like it's a non-thing, or are we just gonna wait till like episode 100 to do something cool?
It's just weird because like they haven't even played a damn game.
Yeah,
I would wait till 100. You know,
wait till 100.
Yeah,
I mean it's gonna come. Yeah. It's gonna come soon enough. Like it'll probably be like All-Star break or maybe even before that.
No, way before that. Way before that.
When did we start this show? Like
3 times a week would be 17 weeks. 17 weeks would be about 4 months. So, okay. Oh shit, yeah, Gordon might be All-Star break.
Come on! Subscribe. God.
That was March.
Hit that button.